Millstone is an artifact that costs 2 generic mana to cast. You can spend 2 mana and tap Millstone to place the top 2 cards of any player's library into their graveyard. So that's very slow, but also very funny. Millstone is such an interesting card because it was just a one-off effect that players found intriguing. A whole keyword now exists because of this card. Mill is a mechanic that puts cards from a library into that player's graveyard, and it's a pretty controversial mechanic that is still pretty popular, all things considered. It's an alternative win condition that is usually okay, but not generally the strongest thing to be doing in any particular card pool. And all of that started with Millstone. This card is pretty slow, and you can defend against it with Feldon's Cane, which was also released in the same set. But this card saw play and was even pretty decent in certain control lists. It's kind of funny to look back at the card that started it all because it's so modest by today's standards. This card is pretty cool in my opinion, as cards like this really add to the depth of the game. This is such a strange concept to think about in regards to winning a game that has a life total. Magic is, well, magic. Because of how complex it can be and how many different pathways there are to the goal of winning a game. That's what makes it interesting, and I think Millstone is an excellent example of that. It did see competitive play. This card has been on the Pro Tour, and I find that wonderful. This kind of effect is also pretty versatile, as you can mill yourself via effects like Dredge or just regular mill effects to get cards into your own graveyard if you're running a graveyard strategy. And you can also just use it as a win condition to mill out your opponent with stuff like Brain Freeze, or just Millstone if you have a lot of time and some good lock pieces. I've already said that I think Mill adds depth to the game, but I do really want to drive that home. I think this is just an interesting and such a novel way to expand the game space within its pre-established rules, because none of the rules changed when this card came out. It was already built for it, kind of. That's kind of wild to me, and it's stuff like that that makes Magic, well, as I said, magic. But let's talk about the art. Millstone was originally illustrated by Kaya Folio, and this art slaps. I'm a huge fan of Kaya's work, and I would rank this pretty low on the list. That's just because a lot of her work is incredible. It's interesting art, but it is just, well, a millstone with some runes carved into it, and it's floating in space. I do really like this art, but there isn't too much to say about it. It is fun to look at, though. This art was used up until 6th edition and then changed in 7th edition. This version was illustrated by John Avon, a fantastic illustrator that's made some wonderful pieces, and I like this version of Millstone. It's just so whimsical and hilarious. It's well illustrated, but the whole concept is just kind of funny to me. Still, it is just a millstone rolling down a hill. There isn't much commentary I can make here, but I do enjoy this art. Anyway, this art was used up until 10th edition, then Millstone wouldn't see a reprint until Magic 2014, where this version was illustrated by Young Hao Han. I really like this version. I think this is such a great representation. It's a metaphor, but also a millstone. That's really funny. This art is also just super well executed. The rock face is insanely well detailed, as is the rest of the art, I guess, but the face really draws me in. The shading is dope as hell. I really like this art, and we even got a cool alteration of the art in The Brothers War. I like these treatments. They feel pretty old school to me, and this one is no exception. This is very cool. But yeah, that's all I have to say about Millstone. It's a fun card, and I'd like to hear your experiences with Millstone in the comments. Or even just what you think about Mill as a concept, I guess. It is pretty controversial. Some people hate Mill, and some people love it. I'm kind of apathetic towards it, honestly, but it is fun sometimes. Yeah, as always, you can like the video if you liked it. You can subscribe if you give a shit. But either way, I hope you have a magical day. Thanks for watching.